Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of the Culture Nerd Podcast. And on this episode, we're actually going to sit down and talk about some of the new rumors of the DCU, because there's a lot of stuff that is now coming out the woodwork that we want to talk about. And I think people are kind of excited to see that there may be a bigger plan than first realized. So we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about some of the new teases, the new rumors, and maybe even add some credibility to these rumors. So I guess there's nothing else, but let's just go for it.
Teen Titans, let's go. I didn't even know. I mean, they're introducing all of these other characters. Why would you not then lead to the Teen Titans? But that's cool.
We actually already knew the Titans was coming. That was actually a planned project. It hadn't really gone anywhere except for this new rumor that came about from Production Weekly. And at first, I'll tell you what the rumor is, and I'll tell you why people are immediately trying to debunk it, but then I'll tell you why they shouldn't be debunking it, because this actually legitimately makes sense. But before we actually get into all that, you know what happened today, Michael?
No. I was going to say something snappy. No, what happened?
A French scooper who's actually been accurate on a lot of shit revealed the PS5 Pro.
This has nothing to do with
It has nothing to do with anything, but apparently this thing's coming out in November.
How much smaller is it than the one I have now?
From what it looks like it's actually a modified version of the Slim, and it's either A, this version is going to be like the Slim and you can attach the disk drive to it, or B, there's two models. But I think it could just be like, here's the Pro, and if you want the disk drive, just use the Slim's disk drive. But
they're trying to get rid of our discs, Taylor. I like my disk drive. I'm not getting another PS5.
No, Sony knows that people like their hardware, but it's also cheaper for them to do it this way. So
I get it. I have an Xbox One that doesn't do anything, and I don't do anything with it. And the neighbor kid likes to play MLB on it, so I get the Game Pass for him.
Yeah, I have all the consoles. I spend a lot of time on my Switch. My son loves.
What do you play on your Switch?
My son actually comes up to me and wakes me up in the morning and says Pikachu, and he wants me to play Let's Go Pikachu with him. So he sits there with me and we play Let's Go Pikachu.
That's a very cartoony game. I can see that's a very fun game to watch.
He likes it a lot. So he's 3 years old and he wants me to. We just got into. I just forgot the name of the city. My nerd credit is going out the window.
Cerulean.
No, it's the city with the ghost tower.
Lavender Town.
There you go, Lavender Town. Yeah. So we just got through the cave. We just got to Lavender Town, and we're just about to go over to the city with the big Slipco. And
they're usually pretty good about rebalancing the games. Do they give Pikachu Iron Tail to get through all the rock types in the cave? Yeah. Okay.
No. So this. Honestly, I've said it before. Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee are just absolutely fantastic remakes of Red and Blue, and they modernize a lot of stuff. Lots of fun. They're really fun games. If you have a chance to get one, it's a lot of fun. But I mean, rumor is that this spring the Switch 2 is coming out, and it's going to be backwards compatible with all Switch games. And
they're going to get me. I don't play my Switch as much as I should.
If Nintendo is smart, they'll name this thing the Super Nintendo Switch. That's what they should do. That's what they should name it.
Nintendo. John, not the Super Switch?
No, they got to call it the Super Nintendo Switch, and the thing needs to come out in white and purple as the launch model, and the internet will buy that shit and eat out of their hands, and they got to do it.
I wonder if so you fucked up by talking video games. I wonder if we get Odyssey 2 or if we get a new standalone Galaxy, a new Mario thing.
We're supposed to have a few big launch games. But now back off of the derailing, we're going to talk more about DC Studios.
Hot dog!
All right, so earlier, was it this week or last week, James Gunn just put out a tweet of the Chocos Oreos of the DC universe. And this is not the first time we've seen him, because this billboard that we saw in the next photo, the Chacos were at a bus stop in Metropolis in the Superman backgrounds. So people know that they've actually gone out of their way to do a bunch of marketing, but now we legitimately have a made packaging for the Chacos fictional Oreos for the DC universe. And why is that significant?
Because who loves Chacos?
The Martian Manhunter. The character, the Martian Manhunter, is his favorite food. He loves the Chacos. That they are what they are. And from my understanding, the Chacos brand was made solely so DC wouldn't have issues with calling them Oreos, but they essentially introduced them as Oreos first without the name, and then eventually retconned them and called them Chacos.
Great. So Chacos is a great name.
The fact that he's using these and there's marketing, there's a package now, heavily implies that there's got to be a scene with somebody eating out of the package and that somebody is Martian Manhunter.
We're going to see a guy eating a whole sleeve of them at the Daily Planet, and that's going to be Martian Manhunter.
But I don't see it at the Daily Planet, because in the comics, Martian Manhunter's alter ego is typically a detective.
Right, so, but it's a shapeshifter, so like, I don't know, maybe we'll just, I guess, okay, we'll see a detective then.
We'll see something. But the Martian Manhunter's been teased from the get-go that he was going to be involved in the DC universe, and it kind of looks like it may be sooner rather than later.
I think they fucked up by not having him earlier in the other universe. I think he's a really fun, he makes the world feel much bigger, and that space is now a part of it. And James Gunn already likes space stuff. Like having a fun, weird alien who doesn't know how to interact with, I mean, I guess he knows Earth customs by this point, but we get to see him kind of fumble that stuff. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, there's so many ways they can introduce him. He could just be Detective John Jones showing up to talk to Clark about something that happened, and then just be like, so how did you get this information? And he just like stares at him. He's like, I know you're not human, dude. Like something like that. Like, hey, it's interesting. This article you wrote. This is very interesting information. How did you get this?
Well, they keep talking about what's the animated movie where there's a launch of a rocket and Superman's there, Lobo shows up, and then there's
Man Up Tomorrow. Yeah,
great. I feel like we're getting that. I feel like the more I keep hearing about all these puzzle pieces, it's like they're all just going to show up at once.
Yeah, we're just going to get a whole movie of like all these things. But no, so we have this new tease and another bit. So Production Weekly came out with this new information. Production Weekly is not the most comic savvy group. They're not, they report what they report. And so in my mind, when they put this out, a lot of people said, oh, that's bullshit. But at the same time, I'm like, it's very specific for them. So I don't think they would bait and switch us like this. So the thing is, there's been a lot of ideas of what this film is going to be, a lot of rumors. We know that Damian Wayne is going to be involved, right? Because he is the new Robin that's being introduced in The Brave and the Bold. But the information in Production Weekly reported that production is actually set to begin at end of 2025. A lot sooner than we were expecting. And the movie that is the Teen Titans are further apart than ever until Damian Wayne enters the picture, recruits Starfire, Raven, Beast Boy, and the new Kid Flash, and then gets them to join a fight with him against his grandfather, Ra's al Ghul. So at first that sounds pretty great. However,
and we see him get introduced in the Batman movie.
Right. So this also adds a little bit more what people are like, oh, that's too soon. 2025, too soon for them to do this. But it also adds a little bit more weight to the rumor that Andy Muschietti is aiming to start filming The Brave and the Bold next summer. So just have this Robin film 2 films back to back so he doesn't age himself out too quickly.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. The other thing that people were like, oh, this is not true. This is actually the plot for Teen Titans Volume 1, Damien Knows Best.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, Production Weekly just stole the tagline from that comic. But we know that James Gunn in the DC universe is pulling major stories from the comics. And look, so this actually makes more sense to me.
Yeah, and go back to that picture. That's a very tight group. You know what I mean? Like, that's not, the Teen Titans get so big. That's a very core group of Teen Titans that you can really do a lot with. And the fact that, you kind of distill it down to Beast Boy, Raven, and Starfire. That other spot could have been a lot of different characters, and it's interesting that they're choosing Kid Flash over someone like Cyborg, who is the big heavy from the cartoon show.
But at the same time, the idea was that these are the more veteran characters. So Starfire was a Titan with Cyborg and Nightwing. So all of these things, it kind of makes sense. This is a more lived-in world. So this makes sense that the Titans would have multiple rosters over time, and that they even said that this is the new Kid Flash. So
in that comic book, how I'm always interested to know how they play with these characters. How powerful is Beast Boy? Does he have access to all of his stuff? Is he just still turning into birds? What's he doing?
This is the Beast Boy like he was in the show, not like the Titan show where he's like, I'm a lion for like, oh, I'm a tiger for 3 seasons, and no, I'm a snake now, and now I have no. This is like, I'm green, I'm a T-Rex, I'm a bird, I'm an octopus. Like, this is all over the place.
Cool.
This is Beast Boy, right?
Yeah.
And this is the Starfire is also the same Starfire that's in the comics as from the Outsiders, and like makes out with Red Hood one day, then makes out with Nightwing the next. Like this is older Starfire.
I was about to say, I don't know. Is she romantically involved with Damian Wayne? That's not something I was aware of. I thought she was with Dick.
No, she is. And this version of Starfire is Nightwing's age. Not like, so like Damien comes in at like 10, 12, and this is like a 25-year-old Starfire.
So does that mean we're going to see a 25-year-old Dick Grayson Nightwing as well?
Yeah, that's what that means. So if this is accurate, if you have this, then you've got the backstory with Nightwing. You've got the backstory with. You've also set up, obviously, Kid Flash means there's a Flash. So there's a lot of stuff right off the bat that they can be like, oh shit.
And you can do a lot of stuff. You can very well have Nightwing show up in the second act and says, your dad told me to come bring you home. And he's like, no, I can't come home. We're going after Grandpa. And he's like, you're not going anywhere without me.
He's like, he's too big of an issue for you. Your dad's been fighting him for years. He's like, that's why I've got a team now.
Yeah.
Like, they have a lot of room to make this very interesting. And I like the idea that they are, it's fully possible that Production Weekly could have just pulled this out of nowhere. Like, oh, someone sent us this info. It sounds right. And they just pulled it off of a synopsis. But this kind of does line up with a lot of all the other rumors that they were doing, that they wanted to have a balanced Titans group where you had a couple of veteran members like Raven and Starfire and a couple of younger members like Kid Flash and Damian Wayne. And then you've got the rumor that Damien was going to be front and center on the Titans, which all of this stuff lines up, right? And with them basing Supergirl off of the Woman of Tomorrow book, and if them basing The Brave and the Bold off of Batman and Son, you know that they're taking major inspiration from the comics and doing it very well. I mean, the new Superman movie is taking inspiration from also Superman for All Seasons, and a few other really good books. So it makes sense that in James Gunn's DC universe, the Titans movie is going to be, what if we made Damian Wayne front and center? And what's the best story where we had that? This volume. So let's adapt this into a movie. So that makes a lot of sense.
And Superman, do you think we see a green dog go pee at a fire hydrant and then turn into a boy and buy an ice cream and then fly away as a hawk? Do you think we'll see any like starter dough like that stuff? I
don't. I think that's a little too soon. I mean, if they're going to be doing production for this movie in a little over a year from now,
yeah, they have.
James Gunn already wrapped up the movie. They can't do that yet. So, I mean, James Gunn recently said that they wrapped this movie a year in advance because they wanted to give the VFX team a year head start. Like that means that he's not planning on doing any more filming, any more work on it. He's given them what they need and he's letting them cook. So I don't see them all of a sudden, let's add a few more cameos. Let's add a few more. Sure. Like I see what we've got is what we've got.
Do you think we get another Teen Titans member introduced in the movie? So someone that's not on the poster but then shows up?
I do. I see them at the end of the movie possibly bringing in Blue Beetle and bringing him and fully canonizing him again.
Yeah.
Because we know that the Blue Beetle movie is kind of like Peacemaker, where it's not 100%, but it's enough to where they're going to continue it. And there's a big rumor that they have a Blue Beetle animated show coming out that's going to continue where the movie left off, but retcon what needs to be retcon and set up what needs to be set up.
What's the animation style? We talking Saturday morning cartoon? We talking an anime? What are we talking about?
What they did with Creature Commandos.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So a serious anime.
Cool. Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and it kind of like if you have Booster Gold coming out, if you have that, and you have the Blue Beetle animated show that's going to introduce Ted Kord and have that whole thing happen, you're setting up a lot of stuff with just these very few projects. There's also another rumor that came out of Reddit, and I give Reddit, I don't know, I like to give Reddit.
What's their accuracy?
Reddit is Reddit. You know,
I love Reddit. I'm on Reddit all day long, baby.
But this came from DCU leaks, and they've actually had a pretty decent track record on some of these things.
Okay.
One of their newer rumors that they have is that they are actually going to be doing a Rogues movie. And the Rogues are the Flash's villains. And they're going to set up the new Flash that way by introducing the Rogues planning a heist, and the Flash is going to be thwarting that heist. So that's how they're going to introduce the new Flash, is that the antithesis of a whole film of their villains.
I don't know Flash villains. There's the Ice Guy.
You got you got the Ice Guy.
Captain Cold. What is his name?
You got Heat Wave.
Okay.
You've got the Mirror Master. You've got the Top. You've got the Trickster. There's a lot of.
Do you think they put Reverse Flash in there?
No, that he's way too OP to be part of the Rogues. He also, in the comics, typically thinks the Rogues are a bunch of idiots. So I think it's I don't think they're doing that yet. I think
so. That's a reverse. That's a reverse movie. We follow the bad guys, and then the good guy beats them all.
Is the antithesis of the villain? Yeah, he's the antagonist for the protagonist. Like the antagonists are the heroes, and the protagonist is the thwarting character.
That sounds like a comedy.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Honestly.
Sounds like a silly movie where, like, at the end of the day, the Flash beats them all, but maybe they get their revenge.
It sounds like a reverse Ocean's 11, where the Ocean's crew like gets thwarted at the end, and the Flash is like they spend the whole movie planning their heist and planning a way to get past the Flash, and then he still makes that on top.
It's also really good. We're talking Flash, but you could very well have Green Arrow, or any of these people show up. I mean, they were always teaming up in the comic books together. Mm-hmm.
Easily. So,
where's Green Arrow? Why haven't we talked about him yet? Where does he show up?
The only thing that I've heard is that the DCU is planning to do Green Arrow and Black Canary and have them as like a couple. Okay. So we're actually going to have that. I don't know where it's going to show up, when it's going to show up, or how it's going to show up, but eventually I think it's going to happen.
Now, I'm aware of Teen Titans, and I also watched that Young Justice cartoon, all the seasons of it. How far into the Teen Titans lore is Young Justice? That's when the team is like as big as the Justice League, correct?
Well, so in the Young Justice cartoon, the lore had the team start off on day one as the Titans, and then in like season 2 or 3, it's like 10 years down the line. Yeah. So like I think that this Titans movie is going to be kind of like the season 3 where Nightwing, Starfire, all them are older, and Damien Wayne's coming into the mix. And it's like, this is the first time we're going to see them on film, but it's going to be a very different take because it's an established team. It's kind of like how Ben Affleck's Batman was like, he's been Batman for 20 years. This is the Titans have already been Titans for like 8 years. And now we have a new Robin in the mix.
I think it's because maybe comic book fans are going to know about Damian Wayne, but I think the general movie audience doesn't understand. It's going to be like Hit Girl is friends with Batman, and Batman can't control Hit Girl.
Yeah.
How old are they thinking about for this Damien?
If they do it right, I would say do like a 12-year-old kid.
Okay.
Right? Do a 12-year-old Damian Wayne, and then do this. Film Batman Brave and the Bold and Titans back to back so he can still be 12 when they're filming these things. And then the second time you see him, get him a little bit older.
Yeah.
Like let him grow up.
Hit him. Yeah, his voice is a little different, but he still's got katana swords.
But like if you want to have a young character, you have to do it correctly and have to do it all at once. So
which is something they did not do with the Ghostbusters movie. Taylor, I saw Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
It's kind of fun.
It's really good. I enjoyed it. I liked it.
I think it was like a 7.5 out of 10. Like, there's a couple things that didn't. It felt like there was a lot of scenes that were not related to the other.
Yes.
But
also, Winston's special unit felt almost like the video game Control. Like the whole, like, oh, there's these objects that are ghost objects and they do things and you can like control them. And this guy's a pyromancer and this kid's going after Slimer. And then the big bad guy of the movie is like defeated in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was like he was there and he was done.
Yeah.
So I had my issues with it. It felt like it probably could have been a good season 1 of a show.
It should have been a TV show.
But we do now know that the Ghostbusters are getting a TV show, a courtesy of Sony and Netflix, and it's going to take place after this.
With those kids? Are the kids coming back?
It's going to be a continuation of the movie, setting up like in between the next movie. Like
great
bunch of stuff.
I'm
good with it.
Ghostbusters needs do all of your dumb scenes, set up all the stuff, and then the movie should be
the big thing.
Funny in what they are doing, right? Like the adventure that they're on, going to these places, and have it be a little bit more focused. But that's great to hear. I'm so happy to hear that they're doing that.
Yeah. Other fun little details is that like we talked about last time, according to Scoopers, Supergirl is going to start production and filming early 2025 in the UK.
Taylor, how do you feel about Millie Bobby Brown playing the new Raven?
No.
Too old?
No.
Too 11-y?
Just no.
Azeroth Zinthos. And she'd
pass. Okay. Just pass. Okay. Other fun things that happened over the week. GQ had a very fun piece with Michael Keaton, and they asked him about the Batgirl movie. And
he gave that great quote. Do you have that quote of his?
Yeah. He said he felt bad for the creators, the directors, and saying that like it sucks to have your project to be killed because you put your heart and your soul into it. But as for him, no, I didn't care one way or the other. It was a big, fun, nice check.
Yeah.
So, just Michael Keaton being Michael Keaton.
He
showed sympathy where it needed to be, and that was all it was.
Got paid, enjoyed it. You guys never going to see it. Doesn't hurt me.
So we know that there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with the DCU moving very quickly. And the idea that we're going to have the Titans, Martian Manhunter, the Flash's Rogues, and a few other things that are also seemingly coming at the same time while they're also working on potentially Booster Gold, potentially a Blue Beetle show. There's a lot of stuff happening in this pipeline right now. And it's interesting that the first project of the DC studios is going to be Superman, the Christopher Reeve story coming out next month. And if you haven't watched that trailer may make you cry because that trailer was very emotional.
I've been crying all day, Taylor. I'm not going to watch that trailer. I don't want to cry anymore.
It was funny. I sat down and I put the trailer on and I looked at my wife and she's like, oh, we're going to see that. I'm like, I know, this is right up your alley. You don't like these superhero movies, but you like what do they call them?
Behind the scenes biopics.
Yeah, biopics. She likes biographies. She likes real stuff. And to see like a movie about Christopher Reeve's struggles after his accident and then everything he did for charity following that's amazing. So the first movie that they're doing, they're slapping the DC logo on is this one. And then we have later this year, we have them coming out with Penguin, which is theirs, but also not theirs because it was already in production before they got into the swing of things.
As long as that show is Dick Tracy meets Sopranos, and people are going to be hounding for Batman, and especially if Batman shows up in that show. If he shows up in the show, that's the money. That's where people are like, great, I got to go finish this at the movie theater.
Yeah, if Batman shows up for like one scene near the end of the show, I think it would be a pretty big finale.
Yeah,
so,
I think so too.
But other than the Superman show, the only other DC Studios project coming out is Creature Commandos. So they are putting, we said it before, it really does feel like they're putting the cart in front of the horse, but at the same time, they're very confident in this universe.
Yeah.
The fact that like by the time the first film comes out, they may be already filmed 2 or 3 films, 2 or 3 TV shows. Like, that's a huge thing when you think about that. If Superman misses, that sucks because they've already filmed Supergirl. They've already filmed the Lantern show. They've already filmed, like, they've already gotten so deep into all this stuff that they have to just keep going forward with it. It's kind of like when Marvel did their Phase 1. Iron Man was the first film they came out with that was, it was a success. And then they fast-tracked their next 4 films. And if any one of those missed, that sucked because the next movie was coming out a few months later.
I think we let them cook. I think where we see this is going, I think the fact that they're connecting and giving the forethought to all of this beforehand and planning out this journey and giving people creative control, but also like fill within these lines, I think it's very promising. And it's something that feels very refreshing after watching the weird, the Marvel of like, we're going to go here and then here and then here and back here and we'll try this maybe. Like the fact
and we're going to retcon half of our stuff by realizing that we wrote ourselves into a corner. Yeah.
Oh, the Eternals didn't happen. Don't worry about it.
But it did happen because the Eternals in the new Captain America movie, that dead Celestial is a major plot point for that movie.
Okay. The dead Celestial is there, but the rest of them, they don't matter. Don't ask about them, okay? They're gone.
We don't know where this giant thing coming out of the ocean came from. We don't care, but it's made of adamantium, and we're going to fight wars over it.
And it's going to get put inside of a Wolverine.
Yeah. We're going to start making tanks out of it.
We're going to start making Omega Reds out of it.
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do going forward with it. But it really feels like Marvel has this one plan for what they're doing. And that plan only came about after they started filming like 4 films. So we have a handful of films coming out that are these going to be, where's this going to go? Who knows? But it's done.
I like Teen Titans. They're one of my favorite superhero teams. I'm excited to see them on the big screen. It sounds like it's going to be a hot minute, but excited to know that they're coming.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely sounds like it's going to be a very interesting time where if they're filming Titans at the end of 2025 and possibly filming Batman Brave and the Bold mid-2025 and filming the Batman Part 2 January 2025, we could have summer 2026, the Batman Part 2, and then winter 2027, Brave and the Bold, spring Titans, and then just have it all kind of just going that way. Like, they're going to have a lot of stuff moving very quickly, but there's probably going to be like a 6-month gap between the Batman Part 2 and the Brave and the Bold.
Very cool. Very cool. That's a good gap.
It's a good gap. But on that note, Michael, take us home.
We now have to gap this till the next time we come back. If you would like to help support us, please head over to the patreon.com/theculturednerd. Thank you very much for all of your patronage. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for allowing us to make this content. If you don't have any money to throw our way, inflation is bad. Go over there, like, comment, subscribe. It really does help us out and make us more visible online. Question of the week. You're adding a new member to the to Teen Titans, a member that has not been on the team before, but the movie audience wants it. Who is that character? In fact, who is that villain? If this Teen Titans takes off, where do you want to see them go? Taylor Murphy's been your host. I'm Michael Santel and your co-host, and we'll see you next week with more Cultured Nerd News.
Bye-bye, everyone. See you next time.